Hello and welcome to In the Envelope, an awards interview podcast. I am your host, Jack Smart, awards editor at Backstage, the most trusted name in casting. I'm here to spotlight some of the most exciting film, television, and theater awards contenders working today. Who is in the running? What makes an awards-worthy performance? And what, dear listeners, are the secrets to giving one? We're sitting down for intimate, inspirational interviews with actors and artists to get that insider's perspective on these questions and more. It's an opportunity for some of today's most talented stars to share their craft and career advice, and maybe, just maybe, provide a tantalizing glimpse in the envelope.
Actors can't handle not working, and they can't handle working. Like when I work, I'm like, I don't know if I can't do this. Like, this is too much. And then when I don't work, I'm like, I'm dying out here, you know? It's like I just got to make it through this job, man, you know?
This guy's 21 years old.
Yeah, I know.
Jamie, the guest of today's podcast, is 21 years old.
Yeah,
is that
his CV is more full than most people's, you know, double that age.
From the last 3 years. I know. Today's guest is Lucas Hedges. For those of you who, for anyone familiar with the Oscar races of the last 3 years, or the last 2 years, you know who he is, because he has starred in last year's 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and Lady Bird, both nominated for Best Picture. And the year before, he starred in Manchester by the Sea, nominated for Best Picture, won for Best Original Screenplay, and Lucas himself was nominated for Supporting Actor at the Oscars.
Ridiculous.
It's kind of ridiculous. And all of this is just, it truly is, like, kind of pales in comparison to his 2018, in which he's starring in both Boy Erased and Ben is Back. Both these retellings of real-life experiences. Boy Erased is about gay conversion therapy and religion, and Ben is Back is about a mother and son dealing with the son's drug addiction. But the thing that I have a note here that, Jamie, that you and I have to talk about is just the and we mentioned it in the interview, but like the people who have played Lucas Hedges' parents in all of these projects.
Yeah, you should probably run through them.
We really should. We haven't even mentioned the fact that he's currently starring on Broadway in a Broadway show, also written by Kenneth Lonergan, who did Manchester by the Sea. So Joan Allen plays his mom in that show, in the Waverly Gallery, which I saw the other day. It's wonderful. So in Manchester, Casey Affleck, who did win the Oscar for leading actor, he plays his uncle. But then it was this past year, Frances McDormand played his mom in 3 Billboards. Frances McDormand won the SAG Award they all won the SAG Award for cast, and then she won the SAG Award for individual, and then she went on to win the Oscar, of course, her second. And then this year, so for Boy Erased, his parents are played by Nicole Kidman and Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
They're incredible. Like, he's phenomenal with both of them. And then in Ben is Back, his mom is played by Julia freaking Roberts. What?
Yeah.
Who has, like you said, a CV? Who has a resume that looks like this?
No one. He's on fire, absolutely. And he's such a nice guy as well, so I can't hold it against him.
Yeah, we spoke to him at a junket in a hotel room, actually, in Midtown, because he is that busy, where he has to cordon off time to talk about these 2 films he's in the lead in. He's also starring this year in Jonah Hill's feature film debut, which is called Mid-90s.
Yeah.
But I gotta be honest here, I started this interview sort of just worried about the guy. Like, not just because he's young, not just because I'm thinking about myself at age 21.
Oh, God.
And, trying to put myself in the shoes of someone going, having that many high-profile projects or something at age 21. Like, that's insane. But I also anyone that overworked, it sounds like, how do you handle it? But how do you handle it was a great jumping off point for this interview. So
definitely. And
he's a very candid person. He's a very thoughtful person, and so he's really intricately articulate, I would say. Like, he's someone who's really determined to kind of speak to kind of say exactly what he means, and that does make for a great interview too. I think this is a great interview for anyone his age, for anyone who's getting that big break and who's becoming a really famous. I mean, not even so much the fame part of it, but who's being given these amazing roles.
It was interesting to me how brutally honest he was with a lot of things. I mean, obviously he's made that his signature with his work. But, you know, even admitting that he does a lot of stuff because he wants to be liked, which all of us do, of course, but it was very, very honest
and wants to be
about
happy.
it.
And yeah. And I liked hearing too, like we did talk about those many very established, very famous actors playing his parents, and I kind of asked him what he's learned from all of them, and I really liked his answer to that too.
Yeah.
So this is a good one for people to hear. We should press play. Hey, if you are an actor or an aspiring actor, someone at the beginning of your artistic career, and you haven't signed up for Backstage yet and you don't know how it works, I have good news for you. Backstage is offering 30 whole days completely free just for our In the Envelope listeners. If you visit backstage.com/subscribe and enter the code ENVELOPE, you will have full access to the site where you can make a profile, upload a headshot, upload a reel, start applying to the thousands of casting notices uploaded every single day on the world's #1 casting platform. Again, we are giving listeners of this podcast 30 days completely free to try out Backstage. Go to checkout, that's backstage.com/subscribe, and enter the code ENVELOPE. If you want to be in contention for an Emmy or for an Oscar or for a Tony or for a SAG Award, do as many of the guests on this podcast have suggested and use Backstage. We are here for you. Again, free 30-day trial, backstage.com/subscribe, enter the code ENVELOPE. Fresh off an Oscar nomination for Manchester by the Sea and a SAG Award Ensemble win for last year's 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and currently starring in Kenneth Lonergan's The Waverly Gallery on Broadway, Lucas Hedges is starring in 3 films in 2018. Boy Erased, Joel Edgerton's retelling of Garrard Conley's experience with gay conversion therapy, mid-90s, Jonah Hill's skateboarding indie, and Ben is Back, an addiction drama written and directed by his father, Peter Hedges. Here it is, our chat with Lucas Hedges. How are you?
I am. I'm at a baseline level of very good.
Oh, okay.
But chaos comes in and out. But doesn't disrupt the baseline of like genuinely very positive.
That's
experience.
An interesting way of putting it.
Yeah, usually I'm like good, terrible, like okay, like you know.
But it's been more consistently good.
Yeah. It's
Is
been
there
good.
some zen state
Thank
of
you.
like?
Thank you so much.
Being super busy, like you get so busy that you're like, oh, one is still and one is sparkling.
Oh my god.
Fancy.
I'd say, oh wow, I feel so amazing sitting with these mics.
Yeah?
This is so cool. I think it has something to do with the project I'm working on right now.
Mm-hmm. Which one?
The Waverly Gallery,
Broadway.
the play.
Yes.
Broadway.
Good. Okay. I can't believe you're on Broadway. It's in promoting 3 movies.
Yeah. Right. Well, to answer your question,
the chaos.
I love working on this play. I love the people I'm with, and yeah, I feel like I'm on like I'm really just making positive choices, making a lot of good choices in my life. So I think that has something to do with it.
As far as like, do you think of it as a work-life balance?
I wouldn't say I'm getting that much life in.
Okay.
Like, but
if the work
But I also think that that's, like, I don't know, that I like to think about people who do 9-to-5 jobs, and I don't think that, I think they work, a lot of people are like, how do you, I can't imagine doing a show, but it's like, in reality, we do like 2.5 hours of work a day. We do our play for 2.5 hours, and everybody else works like 9 hours more.
Right.
And that's a really, really reasonable amount of... That's, like, insane.
Sure.
But it's a little emotionally draining and confusing at times.
Right.
But basically, I have no idea what I'm trying to say. Let's just keep talking.
It's brilliant.
Maybe I'll figure it out.
That's almost why my first question is almost along the lines of like, are you okay? Because those 2.5 hours of work, as you say, it's pure it's a lot of emotion.
It's I do feel very wired when I get home at night, and a lot of my work right now is just about like finding a way to calm down my body because it's so excited that it's very hard to fall asleep at night.
Oof, yeah.
Because I also talk to the audience in the show, as you'll find out. So to be just present with 800 people who are looking right at you is like, it's confusing. It's like not a very normal thing.
And you have to do that thing where you put the role behind you when you go home. Or...
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, I'm playing a character who's like actually like isn't going through some crazy trauma and is like actually like a stable adult who's telling us, like, I'm the narrator, I'm telling the story, so I'm actually in many respects the most stable thing in the play. Which is possibly why I feel very grounded in my life right now. So.
Yeah, and there's a nice 8 shows a week. As you say, it does sound crazy, but it's got that consistency where once you're in that routine, right?
It feels monastic or like meditative even.
Yeah, well, a lot of Broadway performers have put it that way, that it's isolating in a way, right? You're talking 800 people, but you're like in your own zone.
Yeah. The thing that I do like a lot about this show is I feel like when I leave it, it's like actually easier for me to look somebody in the eye than it is, like, that's kind of a weird thing to say, but like sometimes it feels uncomfortable to make eye contact with another person, but when I leave the show I feel very, like, I don't know, confident in how I engage in interactions, I guess is.
Did Yen, your off-Broadway play, did that prepare you for this?
It prepared me in some ways, in that, just literally knowing what it means to use my voice in a space for, like, so I had that experience, which was very important. It also showed me, it gave me trust in that I had an understanding that the show naturally deepens if you just keep showing up. Like, to some extent, when you get, I think when you get to a certain point in the process, your job is just to literally keep showing up. It's not even about like you've done all the preliminary work, and then you just it's about repetition. So once we got into previews, I became sort of like, I was like, okay, I know that when we keep doing it, it's just gonna get deeper and deeper every week, and So I just was able to enjoy the ride more so, or I have been able to.
Without becoming numb to, or not responding to, not reacting to your castmates, for example.
Oh, yeah. In the sense that, like, it becomes actually, I don't know, the word, every word I understand more, and everything anybody says to me it means something more specific, and it's just settled more. It's been like it's all just marinating, and now it's just like it's cooked kind of. Food analogy is actually kind of apt.
Absolutely, because there's prep involved. You got to prepare.
Prep that chicken, you know.
Yeah, you got to season it.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to season it throughout the process. And then you get to eat. Yeah. I want to go back too, because like you were studying theater at
North Carolina.
So first of all, like, what happened, and would you go back?
Or
do you have plans to go back?
No. All my friends are seniors too. I went to the school. It's where my dad went to school, and I became kind of upset. All my friends, I went to a small liberal arts school in Brooklyn Heights, and I kind of just wanted a completely different life from what I was living in high school. There were so many. I think there's a way in which I could frame it that I tried to like run away from a lot of the things that.
Sure.
A lot of the relationships that I just was like, I need a fresh start. So I chose this school because no one I would ever know would end up there. And it's where my dad went, and when I toured there, I fell in love. There was something really simple and sweet and like fundamental about everything about it, and I really wanted to have a training in like playfulness, because I felt like I had become an actor who was just acting in a lot of dramas and felt like serious in a way that didn't feel playful. And I think one of the things that's essential to being like whatever a serious actor means is to be playful, you know? Anyway, so I was like, there's no way I can keep acting in these movies because I just don't, there's some part of myself that I'm not accessing. So I wanted to go to this school, and I went there, and I also thought I'd be the man if I went there. I thought everyone would be like, because my dad's kind of a big deal at this school, and and I'd worked in some movies, and I just thought I'd be like, like everybody's gonna think I'm great, and the teachers will love me, and I'll just like cruise through.
You cruised through, right?
And I didn't.
And
I
that
really
was
didn't.
the appeal, and that did not happen.
Yeah, I thought I'd get sort of the best of both worlds. You know, I'd become the actor I wanted to be, and I'd also be like, everyone would love me.
Not have to work as hard, maybe.
Exactly. I wouldn't have to work that much. I'd just like sort of be the thing. And like I've said now twice, it didn't work out that way. It was, the teachers were very hard on me, and rightfully so. I couldn't coast on all the tricks that I had come to coast on in auditions, and I just became very, very, very confused and scared, and like also halfway through the year, Manchester came out at Sundance, and I wasn't even sure if the movie would come out, because it seemed like it was a kind of like there's something disastrous about it when we were making it. It was like, it seemed like the movie wasn't even going to get finished. So when it came out and it had the response that it had, I didn't really know how to trust anything that was going on. I didn't trust the positive feedback, and all I could trust was the negative feedback. I felt like this is the real stuff. So,
gotcha. Your baseline was not very good.
Exactly. No, it was very bad. Very bad baseline. But the good news is that Greta Gerwig saw that and then asked me to do Lady Bird, and I was like, just the thought of doing that was more fun, and I thought I could do a good job. So I was like, I'm going to do that, and I'm not going to go back to school. So, and I made the right choice.
Yeah. Well, and I like the idea that playful because playful connotes joy and maybe goofiness and funny, but playful for actors can mean playing in a serious or in a tragic realm. Yeah, and the idea that like, I don't know, I still even have this idea that like when things get serious there becomes like a stiff, but like you're still always just passing it back and forth. It's always like it's always is an exchange of some kind, and any exchange is playful. There's no such thing as, I mean, like every exchange you'll ever have in your life is playful. So whether it's serious or not. Sure, and that's almost what actors should study or can study.
Yeah. I think that's valid. It's
because looking at with the exception of Lady Bird, which is a little more lighthearted, although you do quite a lot of heavy lifting in that too. It really seems like your last 5 films are very dramatic.
Yeah, and I got 2 more coming in the pipeline that'll be pretty dramatic too. But it's starting to, I remember my brother made this joke to me. He was just like, he picked up on the fact that I cry in like every movie I'm in, and he was like,
I was going to ask
you just
about
like
that,
he made a joke to me about it, and all of a sudden I became like hyper aware of it and started freaking out. But I think he's right in that like I don't, there are other sides to life other than like tragedy and trauma, and those are very real, but and I think it's important that we're telling these stories, and that I do like that I've sought them out, but there's also so much else, and I like to think that these parts traffic in everything, but I want to play something that like is really, I want to have good times more often. So
maybe the other kind of playful.
Yeah, I could go for some of that.
Well, I mean, I have to ask, like, where does that, to the extent that you can reveal your your deepest, darkest secrets. Like, where does that anguish, you just perform the anguish so very well. And I don't know, I never know how to ask about that because it seems like it has to come from a personal place.
Yeah.
Imagination or memory, you know, or a combination of both. Mm-hmm. But it seems very real, and that's scary. It must be. Yeah.
I think one of the reasons why I'm feeling like perhaps I need to take a break from these kinds of roles is that it's stopping feeling scary. Or it never felt scary. And that it's always been easier. Like, and that the scarier thing is actually to like, an acting teacher once told me that the two things that go out the window when an actor starts working in a space is their sex drive and their sense of humor. That those are the two things that we...
In what space? In any space?
In when you're acting in front of an audience.
Okay.
That those are the two things that you hide. Oh. In that they're like the things that perhaps if you were to reveal, you would be... everyone would lose respect for you. Like
it's some kind of taboo.
Yeah, and that to access those parts of yourself in front of people are the most vulnerable things. So, and in some respects, the least vulnerable thing for me is to access the emotion, and that somehow is like, I think a part of me knows that it elicits some kind of sympathy from people. So it's like, of course, then that would be the avenue that I would jump to because I want to be liked. So, but in fact the more challenging thing is the other. So yeah, for me at least.
Sure.
You know, there are comedians who rely heavily on the funniness and don't know how to go to the other area.
Talk about the need to be liked. What is that? Is that something you have to grapple with?
Oh my God, so much. I was just listening to this great Charlie Kaufman did this talk for BAFTA. I don't really know what it was for, but he did this hour-long talk, and it's the greatest thing I've ever heard about. He really openly grapples with all these things, but for me, yeah, it's kind of strange. I'm still it still feels like so. I mean, so much of what I do is to be liked. It's just and no matter how much I consciously try to go against it, it's just it's really in there. So
I guess it has to be. It's part of the job.
In some ways, I mean, I don't think it does have to be, but I think it's really hard for it not to be. And I don't know, it's confusing. I was even thinking about this coming in here. It's doing these it's really important to support these projects, but what does it mean to do a job that entails me having to be where then I have to requirements or not even necessarily requirements, where I have to be put in front of a camera and asked questions. What does that tell me about how my sense of self and how I come to think about my value? Does that do I then start to think of myself as some kind of prophet? Which I don't want to see myself as that, but sure. I feel when enough people when your life becomes filled with people asking you, it sends messages that maybe aren't healthy and aren't helpful or even truthful. You know, and it maybe doesn't have to do, it has nothing to do with me. It's just a part of the system, you know? Right.
And that's where I am fascinated by that part of it. In promoting your work, you're putting yourself out there, but it requires a certain calibration of what that is, and maybe a little bit of a performance of what is. Yeah. There's no other job where you're kind of then required to go on and be and this is why I was good at my job, or do that in front of thousands of people.
Yeah, I'm not even entirely sure what it is, but it's still it's going on, it's happening. Yeah.
You have no choice but to kind of
but it's not, but it's also it is also a job. It's just another thing that somebody told me once, maybe another acting teacher, is that actors are the last people on earth who should be actors. And what he means by that, what he meant by that is actors are the last people on earth. They're the only people who can be actors, but they're the last people who can handle what it takes to be in it. Actors can't handle not working, and they can't handle working.
Oh,
like when I work, I'm like, I don't know if I can't do this. Like, this is too much. And then when I don't work, I'm like, I'm dying out here, you know? Right. It's like
yeah.
I just got to make it through this job, man. You know, I got to make it through the week, which I guess is true for a lot of people, but I think it's I'm a very dramatic person, and I'm very, at least internally, I'm like a massive drama queen.
So. You're in touch with your emotions. You know.
Yeah, I'm also, I don't know. I just, maybe that's what it is. I also just have a very busy mind.
I love that. I mean, as Backstage, Backstage listeners of this podcast, I think they would really like the idea that not necessarily that you're miserable when you're not working and then miserable when you are, but is it part of being an artist is to never quite be fully satisfied?
Yeah, I think so. But
maybe it's human.
No, I think that's true. But I'm also wondering, because I'm in pursuit of like a life in which I am not a tortured artist, and I'm definitely, like, there are degrees of tortured artists, and I'm definitely, if I even do exist on that spectrum, I'm not on the extreme end of it. But I do like to believe that there are people who that the more I can come to just like be a well-rounded, grounded human being, the better I will be at what I do. And I don't like to be that. I don't like to believe that that I have to feed into this cycle of like, you know, it's a part of the process. It's just to torture yourself about whether or not you're good at it. When it shouldn't be about if I'm good or bad.
Right.
Like it just shouldn't be about that.
Yeah.
Which is also, I think, just weird about being an actor is like, it's always about like, it seems to come back to like history and like legacy and like, and it can't just be like, oh, like this seemed like I guess it can be. Maybe it's that I'm getting in the way. Maybe it's that I still feel this need to like to be great at this thing that can actually just be fun.
Sure.
So that's what I'm also.
You get big picture when what you want is to be more like.
Exactly.
Yeah. And more just like taking every job as it comes or taking every day as it comes. And,
yeah. Exactly.
Is there anything else that you would do or want to do that's not acting? Is it just this?
I think I'd love to I think in another world I would have been like I could have been a choreographer, like a dance choreographer.
Cool.
But I don't like dance classes, so I suppose I wouldn't be. But I love movement and dancing.
Sure.
I would like to make music videos and write. Those are the two other immediate passions that I feel a bit like are available to me right now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I have to ask you about Boy Erased since that's why we're here. And Ben is back. Both I see some similarities in terms of I imagine there had to be a lot of preparation, preparing the meal that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Like, did you have to do research about drug addiction and gay conversion therapy?
Yeah. Well, I did. I had much more time before Boy Erased than for Ben is Back. Ben is Back, I like almost went immediately on to.
That filmed this year. Recently.
Yeah, it filmed right after Boy Erased, so it was like Boy Erased is September through November, and Ben is Back was December through February.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, I tried to do my research for Boy Erased was just like study the mindset of the oppressor, like, because that is what the character's like taken on, like so I tried to just like watch all the do as much research as I could about a queer history in America, and watch as many documentaries as possible, and also just get a sense of, for me, I work best when I have a sense of what it is I'm serving, so like I can then make it a selfless, if I can make it a selfless act, it becomes more enjoyable for me, and just becomes less about me, and I have more fun when it feels like it's less about me.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So, I read this book called The Velvet Rage. Do you know about this book? So, it's actually a book and Andrew Garfield recommended to me, because I went and saw him in Angels in America before I did the play, just because I was in London, and I talked to him about the research he did for Prior, and he recommended this one book for me, which is just specifically about the shame of being a gay man, and was really like was very helpful for me, as somebody who's always it's basically just talking about the experience of recognizing yourself as other, as like being outside of everything else around you, which is the story of Boy Erased, is like really experiencing yourself as being isolated from the world. Yeah.
And it's shame as oppression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
It was hard to watch. It's funny you say documentary, because it felt like one. Like a fictionalized documentary.
Oh, wow.
And I was very grateful that it was fictionalized. I was glad that it was like a Hollywood depiction of it, because if it had been the exact same movie, but you had been a real life person who was being like interviewed instead, and that was the main character, I would have had to leave the theater.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God.
And it was helpful to see Nicole Kidman, to be like, that's a movie star.
Totally. Oh, wow.
And she looks like Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
So we're good.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Totally. It was a very, very intense experience, for sure.
I'm sure.
Particularly, I mean, when Garrard came to set, it was like the days became more like, it became more, it felt more real. I mean, just obviously felt more real when he was there. And that was...
this is the person you're playing.
Yeah.
Who you had met before.
To the viewers. Garrard is the man who lived the story, the movie is the story with slight variations. Like, my name's Jared, not Garrard.
Yes. Okay. Did you have in-depth conversations with him
about
his life or
tons, so many, so many, and we really like. One of the reasons why the reason why I first really wanted to do the movie was, outside of the fact that Joel was writing and directing it, was that I just fell in love with the book and his thoughts and his writing, and we got together in the neighborhood I grew up in, actually.
Oh, cool.
And inadvertently, we talked about his life as we walked through the streets I grew up on. So I would like show him my childhood home, and it felt kind of like. At one point I was like, I'm sorry, I don't know, I should not be, this doesn't matter, but he was like, no, it feels like a really good gesture, it feels like I'm sharing all this with you, and now it's like it felt like an exchange. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You had 2 Oscar winners playing your parents, and then you have Julia Roberts playing your mom, and then you have Frances McDormand playing your mom.
Yeah, right?
How, what is it like working with these people?
That 4 Oscar winners?
It's 4 Oscar winners. Playing your parents. It's amazing.
Yeah.
What do you learn from these people?
Well, they're all wildly different, obviously. And they're all really good, like good people. So I can't, I don't know that people say all the time that like, oh, you're going to learn a lot working with these people. The only times I feel like I've actually learned, because I'm somebody who I like to talk a lot about, I like to ask for advice a lot, but I don't know that I actually learn from when I'm given advice. Like I only ever really learn when I have to figure something out for myself.
Oh, okay.
So,
Interesting.
I guess what I have been exposed to is like, wow, all these people have their ways of doing their job, and their ways are like inextricably woven together with who these people are as human beings. Like their processes are like exact reflections of who they are. So
wow.
Like I don't anything I'm going to end up learning about what it is to do my job at the end of the day is going to come from me. So
that's cool.
But I suppose the only gift I really get from working with these people is from what I'm experiencing from them in the moment, like and what and how that informs what I do.
Well, and when you said that you are at your best when you're being selfless, is that true for like a scene partner?
Yeah, it's a tricky balance, because sometimes I've been like, okay, I'm just gonna make it about them. I'm gonna listen to them. And then when I do that, I'm like, I'm actually not. I'm not actually then with them. I'm just like thinking about listening to them. So it's like, I'm just like, I gotta be with them. I want to be with them. Oh, they did that. I'm taking that in. But like,
yeah,
it's about finding a way to be really selfish and selfless at the same time.
Cool.
Because these characters really like. They want something, and they want something for themselves, but it's it's
that's
kind
the selfish part. I see.
There has to be some sort of driving force that's coming from me that sort of comes together with the. I'm also just, I haven't figured it out, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
But I mean, there's no need to like, you don't have to have it articulated yet, or like ever, really, I think. I think that the idea of, we talk about listening a lot on this podcast, and I think that you're right, that if you're totally in your head about like the process of listening, then you're not doing it.
Yeah.
And you're just being selfish in a selfish way. Whereas like, I like the idea of being kind of selfless in the scene, but selfish as your character, because you're trying to, you're chasing your objective. And there's a way to blend those two without overthinking it in a way that's unconscious, maybe.
Yeah.
Rather than,
yes,
I am setting out to do this.
Yes.
And thinking about it.
Yeah, and I'm still really learning what that is, what that means. And
it's exciting.
Yeah.
That you're still learning that.
Yeah. I'm just starting learning it, actually.
As we are backstage, I love hearing about the advice. What advice we're always asking about the acting advice. So like, I sometimes ask, what advice would you go back and give your younger self? But you're there.
I am the younger boy.
What advice would you give yourself
right now? I'd like to take this opportunity, actually. I think it's just like a friend of mine once told me that he's like, okay, I don't remember exactly what he said, but the basis of it is that the only things I'm ever going to do that are going to mean something to me are going to come from a place of listening to myself in an intuitive way as to the direction my life wants to go in. It's not about, I don't think it's about paving the career. Like I don't believe that it's like, this is my moment, like I'm going to make career choices, that's not the way to go. For me, it's like, it's a much more mysterious kind of natural flow that reveals itself. So I want to be like, everywhere I go, there's like a little thing is unlocked, and I get to enter into a new doorway, and there are new people there, and when I get to know these people, there are one or two people in here that are like the gateway to the next thing. And I think the more I can just be tuned into the people in my life today, and where I'm being where I'm moved to go to work, what I'm moved to work on, then I'll be on my way. Like it's not the less I get out of, the more I get out of my own way in that respect.
Yeah,
that's what I'd like to say to myself.
I feel that. Yeah, I get that. That it's. I feel like so much of
or I guess for me, like adult life is about identifying what you want. And it's so much easier said than done. And I like that in the way of putting it as a intuition.
Yeah, intuition.
Like those doors are inside.
Yeah.
With the keys.
It's really true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't know where they're going to go.
Yeah.
And you got to keep listening. Yeah.
And it always leads me back somewhere too. It's like,
totally. Yes.
It's
there's
not
learning
like,
and then there's like relearning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's in many respects not even a new place. It's just like it's a return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no place like home.
It's a great saying.
Oh my God, Lucas, thank you so much. This is great.
Thank you so much.
This is awesome. In the Envelope, an awards podcast, is recorded at Lotus Productions, Hyperbolic Audio, and Big Yellow Duck in New York City, and Soundbox LA, Mark Grouse Studios, and Buzzies in Los Angeles. Like, rate, subscribe, tell your friends, and follow us on Twitter at In the Envelope. Thanks as always to producer, editor, and all-around podcast extraordinaire Jamie Muffett, and thank you to the team at Backstage, the most trusted name in casting. That's Peter Rappaport, Rawaan Alkhatib, Francis Ramos, Caitlin Watkins, Lauren Rout, Mark Stinson, and especially Casey Howe. For more awards and industry coverage, head over to Backstage.com. Thank you for listening. Tune in next time for another glimpse in the Envelope.